How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Mike here. Today we're going to talk about economies, inflation rate, and what's happening particularly in the US market, but really it's happening all around the world. If you love stuff about business and you like to just get some knowledge about things that are happening in the background, I'm a nerd for this type of stuff and I like to study it. I consider myself a lazy investor, but these type of information always helps me make decisions if I'm either buying into a stock or I'm moving money from one asset to another. That's why I want to share my thoughts today. Please take this with a grain of salt. It's really just one man's opinion, but I'll give it to you anyway. So, how high will the inflation rate become? If you think about what's happening in the market today, you think of the real estate market, the stock market, really since the pandemic. Now, a lot of factors are driving our economies. A lot of factors are driving what's happening in real estate, where the home prices are just skyrocketed. A lot of factors are also driving the stock market, especially you think about tech stocks, you think about crypto that kind of came on the rise a little bit since the pandemic. And really the pandemic, I think, was the pushing force, although all these things were already brewing underneath, and I feel like the pandemic really brought it up to the surface. I'll give an example. Of course, you have the government and what the federal government is doing, printing money all over the place, and that's just, it's diluting a lot of let me take that back. It's not diluted. Monies are floating around right now. The federal government is printing hundreds, millions, billions of dollars. I feel like it's diluting the value of the dollar. When you think of everything that's being driven up right now in terms of cost, that's one of the main reasons. Let me share my theory with you, okay? So let's take real estate, because that's just what I've had my hands on recently. Right now, home prices are just out of the window. They're skyrocketing, and also rent prices. If you watched an initial video that I made a few weeks or a few months ago, one of the reasons that's driving the cost of real estate, obviously there's a higher demand for housing right now, but also because of the pandemic, you have people who are moving from state to state or coast to coast. The pandemic has allowed for a lot of employees to be able to work remotely, meaning they don't have to show up to a building to work anymore, because people are now able to work from the comfort of their homes, and they're still getting paid a good salary. They can just get up and leave. If you live in a high tax bracket state, you can easily now move out to a lower tax bracket state or a state with no tax at all. So that's one of the driving forces. But another factor that I just started kind of puzzling with recently is, again, the fact that a lot of money is being printed. Not just a lot of money being printed, but just a lot of money floating around. You think about the pandemic, right? So many businesses made a ton. Even individuals made a ton. Think of tech startups. Let's take Amazon, for example. Business of Amazon skyrocketed during the pandemic because, people were now not able to go to stores as they used to, so they just order online. Jeff Bezos all of a sudden becomes the richest man in the world.
Hell yes.
You think of even Tesla. You look at all of these stocks, but then you think of our behavior and what's driving them. That's why I said a lot of money started to float around. When you also think about all of the incentives that the federal government was putting out there. One, they were sending free checks to everyone. You had the PPP loan, which a lot of businesses, more sophisticated and already high-paying businesses, took advantage of that. That's for another video. But you think of what they did for a lot of businesses, gave a lot of money out. They also doled out a lot of money to individuals, and justifiable, because people really did need help through the pandemic. This is not me speaking against the fact that the federal government helped out families and businesses. That was a good thing. But this is the result of what happened. You had a lot of money being pushed into the economy, and then all of a sudden you had people who had extra income. With the stimulus check, a lot of people got extra income. Also businesses who were able to walk away with hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars of additional income. Now, you think about it. Where are people putting all of that money?
Come on, let's go.
For someone who already lives paycheck to paycheck, chances are they use that money to either pay off bills or they use it as disposable income, aka when to shop on Amazon. Or for someone who is maybe more smarter with their money, they went and invested it in stocks, or they went and invested it in real estate. So this is part of what's driving the markets. This is what's driving particularly the real estate market and the stock market. But more importantly, you had hedge funds. These are guys who are buying at an astronomical amount of dollars. Say for example, if I'm buying a house for $100,000, I'm buying just one house. Hedge funds generally will buy homes, like hundreds and thousands of houses worth billions of dollars. And when one or two or three hedge funds decide, hey, we've got all this extra cash, where do we need to put it? And a lot of them are putting it into real estate. That's a big part of what's moving the needle in real estate and why the prices are doing this. Now, let's circle back to inflation. I'm basically describing everything that's going on and what's possibly driving the value of the dollar to go down. So right now, if you look at the real estate market, for example, and you're like, man, homes are so expensive, you have to pay over asking. One, the reason is people have more money to spend, and that's what's driving it. But if you put on another lens and you realize that it could be possible that the value of the house is not what's going up. People are willing to pay more for it, but the value is not necessarily going up. And that's where inflation starts to kick in. When you realize that you're not actually paying for the value of the house, you're just paying additional money for it because you have the extra money to spend. That extra money came from what the federal government is pumping out and what the hedge funds are doing. So when you think about that, where value and dollar amount doesn't equate to each other, or where you had value less, dollar amount pushing things, then that's going to decrease the value of our currency. That's what's really going to drive inflation. As a matter of fact, I think inflation is already happening. We just may not think about it as inflation. But the truth of the matter is, if you look deep into what's happening with the real estate market, part of that is inflation, where people are overpaying for homes, people are overpaying for amenities and resources. That's called inflation, guys. It's nothing else. That's really what it is. That's my spiel of what I think is happening. But of course, if you're smart enough with your money, you will be good. You will actually do better during this period than you've ever done. It's just a matter of getting the knowledge and doing something right with your money. I'll give an example. A lot of you saw my video where I said I invested X amount in Dogecoin and crypto, but recently I moved a lot of that money out of crypto and invested it into real assets. Now, I'm still a great proponent and great advocate for investing in cryptocurrency. I believe in it. That's why I didn't move all my money out. But you can always interchange what you're buying, the assets that you're buying with your money, depending on what the economy is doing. And for me, I do foresee inflation rate going off the roof. Maybe not going off the roof, but something is happening and something is going to happen eventually. So with that, I can forecast, okay, you know, if the value of the dollar is going to be reduced, I think crypto is one way to mitigate that risk, or real estate is a better way to mitigate that risk. So that's really what I'm trying to say in this video. I'm not talking about inflation to make anybody anxious or to put fear in anyone. I'm just saying it so you can get smarter about your money and you can move your money from one asset to another. But inflation is already happening. I hope you got something from this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and leave your comments below. I'm interested in your take of what's happening and what's happening around you, whether you're in the market to buy real estate or stocks, whatever it is that you're buying, or even something as basic commodity as water or oil and gas. Those things, the prices are also being driven up, and I think part of it is because of inflation. But I do want to know your experience, so please leave in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching and spending time with me, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.